Hey, how's it going, guys? Ancient Rune here, back with another Borderlands 3 build video, and today I will be going over my melee Zane build named MNTIS Stab.
Now stand back, I gotta practice my stabbing. No, please!
This build focuses on Zane's cooldown rate and grenade regen, to spam stinger novas and throw fish slabs to clear content fast and easy. Since Zane's skill tree doesn't have anything that boosts our melee damage, this build's power will depend on the gear you get. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The save file will be found in my Discord, which is linked down below, and I hope you guys enjoy. And for the gear here, we have mainly stat sticks, just stuff to boost our melee damage. First, we have the Psycho Stabber. It says on the card 340% melee damage, but it's actually 120% melee damage and a ×2 melee mult. Then you have the 150 over 90 damage. It says weapon damage, but it's actually V2 damage, so it'll apply to anything because it's global V2. The Psycho Stabber has set parts, so it doesn't matter which one you get. You could have a level 1 Psycho Stabber with Anointment, Mayhem 0, and it would be the exact same. Of course, that's not possible to have with Anointment, but that's just an example. Then we have the Guardian Angel. The only thing you need to focus on is having a blade, and then having a 21% card crit could be nice if the static charge ever crits, but that's very minimal. Mainly focus on the melee blade. I think it's around 60%. And then the Guardian Angel will give us V2 damage based on how far away we are from enemies. And then you want the ASE melee, because on here we have melee with a V2 anoint, and then we have V2 with a melee anoint. Kind of mix and match. You want this Psycho Stabber mainly for mobbing. It helps one-hit enemies with your melee stuff. You may be like a little bit left HP from your enemies, but you can usually just use its second action skill or grenade, and it'll kill the enemies to where you don't have to swap to the Guardian Angel. The Guardian Angel still is good in general if you want something consistent. This Guardian is somewhat consistent, just depends on how far away you are from the enemies. But for bossing, I'll normally use the Guardian Angel, mainly if it has multi-stages. If it's a one stage, then I'll use the Psycho Stabber. Then we have the Face Puncher with the melee attacks applied terror. You can use a ×7 or ×14. ×14 is probably better, but I just didn't feel like doing it. I have a bunch of different stuff here. This is to apply terror to have on this grenade. We'll go over the grenade anointment, but terror is very important here. Because we're using terror, you could also use terror cryo here, but that's only like if you find it, which is kind of hard to do with rerolling. But if you do want to go terror cryo, you can, but these anointments are definitely a lot better. And then we have a face puncher here with URAD. You could also use a Blade Fury. Not the Masher, you'd want a Gatlin version, but either one will work. I prefer the face puncher, but you want it with URAD. This is for fight for your life, since you'll be at 1 HP, technically 0 I guess. You'll be under 50% health, so you'll get the URAD. You could use Terror. What I would do for Fight for Your Life is I'll use this Face Puncher first to get this V1 from the Terror Anoint, and then I'll swap to this one to have the V1 and the URAD, and it helps most of the time. You could also use Ember's Purge because the puddle is really strong. I've used a Hellwalker with URAD to shoot a bunch, not for the damage, but to shoot duct tape mod. Both have worked sometimes, it just kind of depends on the scenario, but I've found the Face Puncher to be my favorite and most consistent. And then for the shield, we have a Stinger. I mainly like to go Corrosive since a lot of enemies have Corrosive or armor bars. A lot of the endgame has that. I have all different elements here. You could go Radiation to try and get some rad dots, but they honestly aren't that good, and usually you'll kill the enemies before you can apply the dot. We have a Brawler Ward here you could use with an Infiltrator, but it's not really worth it on this build because the Novas are clearing better. Then we have a Frozen Heart. This will insta-freeze enemies, and you could hold like a Guardian Angel with it to help boost its damage, but it also isn't as good. But if you have a Frozen Heart and not a Stinger yet, this could be a good start. And then you want to use the Fish Slap. It's really the only item to use because it does so much damage. We want Mayhem 10, and we use the Terror V1 Anoint because it gives V1 damage, which we don't have anywhere. You could get it from a Victory Rush, but none of Zane's skill tree has it, so this is very important. It also has fire rate, which is mostly important for fight for your life, as you can shoot more bullets. Link is the best one to have. You could also get Royd. This is a pure mult, I believe, of the damage for each enemy's hit by the fish slap, so Link is a lot better. I never got to mention action skill start. Anoint here. Anytime we activate MNTIS, this will break our shield, activate the Nova, and then go back to the original place it was. And then the full melee damage is a mult or V2. I'm pretty sure it's a mult. It is good with the full shield for throwing fish slaps, just more damage for your fish slap. You won't get that damage while you get the Nova because you'll have 0 shield, so you won't be full. And then for the class mod, I go with the Spy for the cooldown rate. This is definitely the best one to have. There are some other things you can get. Antifreeze doesn't matter much. Infiltrator is good for breaking the shield, but I'd much rather have the cooldown. And then when you have no shield, you have less cooldown, which means you can do less Novas, which just kind of ends up not being as good. Shock Raider is for a pocket full of grenades, so you can have more grenade regen, but then you lose cooldown, but can still work. Seeing Dead is good for fight for your life, as you'll get different kill skill bonuses. You'd have to make some adjustments to the skill tree to make it more worth it, but it is there. And then Executor is mainly for if you use the Unleash the Dragon artifact. This will improve the stats effect damage of your dot. For the passive, you want melee damage, splash damage, and splash damage radius. You could also get grenade radius, which would boost the fish slap, but splash damage is better because it'll boost the stinger nova and the fish slap. Action skill cooldown rate can also be good for more spamming, but I'd rather have the damage here. And you just want as many points as commitment for the cooldown. I definitely prioritize the passives over the skills. A lot of these could work if you just have good passives. Just keep in mind, Infiltrator will break your shield, so that would probably be one of the least desirable. And then you mainly just want any kind of static charge with good passives. I like using Snowdrift just to be able to move around better, but any of these stones is good. Knife Drain is really good for trying to stay alive, but I found that if I hit myself, I'll die, which is the most time I will hurt myself, but if I'm low, I can shoot my gun with Salvation here to get back health if I want. So that's why I don't really like using Knife Drain, but a lot of these will work well. And then we have Unleash the Dragon. This is for bosses with big health, like raid bosses like Hemovorus. Some other bosses like Wotan or Scourge or Anathema don't need it. You can use some nice fast kills with Unleash the Dragon, but I prefer just not swapping. It can be an easier farm because there's less passive variation here, but the Unleash the Dragon ideal is melee damage and incendiary damage. For the passives on the static charge, you want melee damage and area effect damage in your second or third slot. Here I have a double roll melee damage. You could also go elemental damage of any element you're using. You could go action skill cooldown, that would also be really good. It's really whatever you get. I definitely try and get that splash damage. That splash damage will boost both of these. So I definitely mainly focus on having static charge with splash damage on the second or third slot, and then melee or elemental damage or action skill cooldown rate. For the skill tree here, you'll see it's very weird because we don't really use guns. I have Violent Momentum just for fight for your life, and that's it, just for some gun damage while moving for the face puncher. Otherwise, we wouldn't even take this. We could move this into Violent Violence, but I don't do that. Cold War is for swapping. We will be swapping a bunch between Face Punchers, Guardian Angels, and Psycho Stabbers. Movement speed just to move around faster, and then could also boost Violent Momentum. We have Cool Hand for reload speed for when we're shooting the Face Puncher. Just reloading faster means less time not having our stat stick up. Salvation, we go here. Salvation won't get any help with the melee items as it's only from guns, but you can shoot the Psycho Stabber or Guardian Angel at an enemy and go back to full health. I go 5 just because it means it's easier to get back that health fully and safer. Technically you only need 1 point, but if you want to get back health instantly, you can go 5. Otherwise, you can put points in Violent Violence to have more fire rate this is mainly for shooting the face puncher, but you can technically shoot these guns while doing all your stuff because of Cook a Combo increases gun damage by 2% for 1 second each shot. But this is actually V1 damage, so that is really nice to have. And then we go seeing red for the skill bonuses, and anytime we activate our action skill, which will be MNTIS, we'll get kill skills. We don't have too many kill skills, but the main ones that matter is commitment, which is cooldown, and pocket full grenades. So those are important ones, but most other kill skills don't matter. We don't go good misfortune because we have an active skill missing for throwing grenades, and so we have no active action skills. Then we have death follows close for kill skill bonuses. This will boost that cooldown and grenade regen. Then we go red tree. We don't go prime mutinous because we don't have any active action skills going on. We go synchronicity because this will activate from MNTIS being on cooldown. It's a very little bit of gun damage, but it helps a little bit more than borrowed time, as borrowed time does nothing. Well, this does like 10%. We go prime mutinous for the increased mag size for the face puncher. Donnybrook for the health regen. Duct tape mod for firing that grenade. You can use that and fight for your life. Also gives splash immunity, so you could probably run like cryo stuff here and it wouldn't hurt you, I'm pretty sure, but it doesn't matter too much. Then we have pocket full grenades. We only need 1 point unless you're like really spamming grenades. Then you can take points out of green tree, as these are extra points, and put it into more pocket full grenades, where you could run a shockerator here to get more grenade regen. Then in purple tree we go renegade for health regen, as none of this really helps here. Accuracy, because it can help. We very rarely crit. You can crit with MNTIS, or you can crit with static charge. That's why we go Hezron's Hand, because we can have a chance to get that static charge critic. So this still does help. 5 points in commitment for that cooldown, and some gun damage is nice, but not too helpful unless you're running Seeing Dead, because the only time you really shoot any guns for damage is in Fight for Your Life. Fugitive to shoot and sprint. This is just helpful if you want to shoot, well, when you are shooting like for terror stacks, you don't have to be stopped or anything. Then we go domino effect to get to proliferation. So we have more MNTIS charges. The cannon damage doesn't matter, and this is still helpful for the fire rate and reload speed. I go colder shoulder just because it's less blinding and because I don't want no way out, but you can use no way out. You just have longer cooldown, which I don't prefer. And I also don't like accidentally pulling enemies to me, then throwing a grenade in my face at an enemy and killing it and me. Wet work doesn't do anything, and brain drain doesn't help. So if you are using a cryo stone static charge, I guess it can help with freeze rate, but most of the time you'll kill an enemy before it can be frozen. And then green tree is all extra points, but I like rise to the occasion health regen since it's max health and not missing health. This is great for if your shield breaks and you need to regen health. You could also use it in other points. You could take these out. I go ready for action for the recharge rate and delay for better survivability, and if you have full shield, you get that melee ult. You could go adrenaline if you want, but I prefer not to. Brain freeze doesn't really matter because you barely crit. You could take those points out, put some points in the sheer will. So sheer will is bugged, and the flat 5% per point action skill cooldown will apply to MNTIS, but that stacking after crit does not apply to MNTIS. So you still could go this, put a point in domino effect and somewhere else, and then get Armand Flint. While ADS with Colder Shoulder, you can freeze enemies to get that melee damage bonus, but most of the time enemies will be dead already, and anytime you would need this is bossing or very high health enemies, and you usually can't freeze them. You could also put those points into violence for more fire rate. You could put some into playing dirty, I guess, for that extra pellet, but you already have 7 or 14 pellets, so it doesn't really matter that much. Or you can put them into pocket full grenades and some Supersonic Man purely for going faster. But I prefer having survivability here, but as you can see, it's not needed at all here. This is just the main format here we have for the skill tree. Green tree can be ignored, really. I hope you guys enjoyed the build video. I love this build as it allows Zane to use melee items very well. This build is a bit of a glass cannon. If you aren't careful, you will die. Fight for your life damage is a bit weak, but it still can be done. Again, you can find the save file in my Discord, which is linked down below, as well as my other socials. If you haven't, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.